Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the annual council meeting. Before we embark upon the agenda as put before you, I'm going to ask Mrs. Sternberg to talk to you about one or two technical items. Over to you, Mrs. Sternberg.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick reminder about the microphones. These are linked to the cameras, so please don't change seats. There are two buttons on the mics. If you wish to speak, you need to press the right-hand one and the chair will tell you when you can speak. You need to wait a few seconds for the camera to focus on you before you speak, and you must sit down when speaking. The chair has the control of the meeting and can silence all speakers' mics if needed. In terms of voting, it'll be for the second meeting. The first meeting will largely be done, we suspect, by show of hands or acclamation. For the second meeting, almost all voting will be done using the voting system. When the vote is reached, the chair will ask you to vote. The screen on your mic will show green as a vote for, red as a vote against, and yellow for abstaining. Press the screen for the vote you wish to cast. Press the screen. The chair will bring the vote to an end after an appropriate time, and the results will be shown on the screen. And I'll come back to you at the end of the annual meeting just to go through what you need to do in preparation for the next meeting with regard to microphones. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Sternberg. I thought you were going to say you were going to come back to us for a test. But anyway. So having said all of that, we now move to the agenda. So item 1 on the agenda is election of the chair of the council. So nominations are sought to elect the chair of the council for the municipal period 2024-2025. Do we have a nomination, please? Councillor Barker.
Yeah, thank you. Can I move Councillor Jerry Morley, please? Or Jeff? I don't know which name you want to use.
Thank you. And Councillor Kerry.
Can I second that, Chair?
Thank you. Any other nominations? We don't need a vote.
Just show of hands.
All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? I declare Councillor Jerry Morley, or whatever name he's using this week, duly elected as Chair of the Council for 2024-2025. Congratulations, Councillor Morley.
Thank you very much.
I need to.
Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the honour, and it is an honour for me after many years on the district council and many years on our parish council. Probably been the last 4 years this time, so due to illnesses I've got, so I'm really honoured, and I really mean that. What I'd like to do this year is my charity is to go to local communities, every parish in the district. I'd like to help by raising money and donating money to every parish. Anybody what's got anything from mental health, youth clubs, anything like that, I'd love to help, because a couple £100 or £300 or £400 goes a long way to these people. When Martin did that, and he's done a fantastic job, the money goes in one pot. I want to spread it out to all the communities. I want to try and help everybody I can. If it means me attending schools, going to clubs, the youth club we set up at Claycross, the food bank at Claycross, and many other in the area, in the district, I'll turn up and help and try and help. And if we can help by at the end of the year, when we do get the amount of money raised, then I'll meet them. And it goes along with councils, communities. They do a lot for everything, football clubs, tennis clubs, everything. So that's what I'm looking at, to spread it about. So I do hope you'll help support me with that. And there is a payment for this job, and I don't want it. I'm putting it down. That will be the first payment. Will go into the community pot, whatever it is. I don't even know where it is, what the chairman gets or where he don't get, but I'll donate that straight back. So I do hope you can support me on this, and thank you very much on that. On to the thing I didn't know I'd ever get down to this, Martin. Well, bottom of my heart, mate, I wish you all the best, because I think you've done a fantastic job. Really good job. I don't know the total that Martin's raised, but whatever it is, if it matches what it did last year, well, year before, sorry, it'll be tremendous effort. And I know you've put loads of work in, loads of work. I've been tabbing you, if you know what I mean, and keeping my eye on you, see how you do it. See if I can get down that road. But I think, not only that, I think he needs a round of applause from everybody. No matter politics aside, and this one, let's be fair and honest, he's done a fantastic job. Is there any other members that'd like to speak? Yeah, on Martin's.
Yes.
Or would you like to come back, Martin, on it?
I don't know protocol. Do I present your speech?
Councillor Barker's got his book and he's
Oh,
got the
sorry.
chairman's thing to present. Yeah.
Right, Nigel, you've got your in.
Well, I'll say it when I'm going to present the thing, if you're...
I think Councillor Dale is going to say this.
Okay. Councillor Dale?
Thank you very much, Chair, and congratulations on your election as Chair. Just to say a huge thank you to Martin. I think it's been an outstanding civic year again, an absolutely mammoth fundraising record. I won't reveal the number because I'm sure you're going to do that yourself in a few moments, but I have had a tip-off that it's a very significant figure again for a fantastic cause that I think probably has touched the lives of pretty much everyone in this room. Everyone knows someone or a family who've had to use Ashgate Hospice. So I think everyone would really welcome the massive contribution you've made to the fundraising there. And it's been a real year of civic pride as well. I think I really felt that at the civic service a few weeks ago, to see the district so well championed and represented. And you really have championed North East Derbyshire during the past year, Martin. And then finally, just in terms of the chairing of these meetings, it's probably the hardest bit of the civic chair's role. We're not an easy bunch, I suppose, are we, to keep control of? But you've always done it in a really fair and balanced way, and you've always had a real command of the chamber and a command of the constitution and the standing orders. So you'd definitely be a very hard act to follow, but obviously wish Councillor Morley very well in his civic year. But yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to Martin.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your election to office. I'd like to echo very much what Alex has said, and in terms of Martin, obviously this is the second time he's been chair, and both times he's been exceptional. I think there's few people got as good a grasp of the Constitution as he has, and the meetings have always flowed far better under him. So it's a tough act to follow. Hopefully Councillor Morley will do it. I'm sure you will. but no, thank you for the term we've had, and good luck in your term coming forward.
Councillor Weatherall.
Okay. No. Thank you very much. Just wanted to say congratulations to Councillor Morley. Looking forward to your chairmanship over this year. And just also wanted to say that as a fresh new councillor for North East Derbyshire, I've learnt so much from Councillor Thacker during his year, He's kept me on the straight and narrow on more than one occasion, in this chamber, of course. So thank you very much. Your knowledge is amazing. And from a new councillor, thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues, for those kind words. The year 2024 is a significant one in the story of North East Derbyshire District Council. It is 50 years since the Claycross and Dronfield Urban District Councils and all former Chesterfield Rural District Council parishes, except Brimington, ceased to exist. From the 1st of April 1974, North East Derbyshire District Council came into existence. So it's our council's 50th anniversary. Jean and I deem it a privilege to have served the district in a civic capacity during the council's special milestone. There are several memorable activities, including representing the authority at occasions linked to the armed forces, such as acts of remembrance and meeting veterans. We have been a part of commemorating the work of the judiciary by attending legal services and a Derbyshire Law Society event. We have promoted the talents of young people by supporting the Derbyshire Youth Orchestra, attending swimming championships and the Derbyshire Scouts cooking competition. We have been to various local schools and witnessed firsthand the amazing teaching and learning going on locally. Jean and I have been proud to represent the council at numerous civic events and develop positive relationships wherever appropriate. We were pleased to visit Darmstadt-Dieburg and meet with members of the Landkreis and Twinning Committee. There is so much potential for meaningful partnership between our international communities. We have been welcomed by other communities too. We engaged with the local Asian Association and joined in their Diwali celebrations. The civic role has been a platform for raising awareness of the deaf community. I spoke at the High Sheriff's Conference about barriers facing deaf people and used our civic service to promote British Sign Language. Watching Craig Crowley, the Chief Executive of Action Deafness, signing a poem at the service will remain one of my highlights. Jean and I have met many inspirational people during our time in office. This has been particularly evident during fundraising for our chosen charity, Ashgate Hospice. We have fond memories of some great events, such as a boat pull on Chesterfield Canal, ABBA Night, lunch with cricketer Jeff Miller, Burns Night, Elvis Night, a drinks reception at Renishaw Hall, luncheon at Barlow Woodseats Hall, concerts with Island Colliery Band and Honeybells Choir, and an evening in the Painted Hall at Chatsworth. Last weekend I visited 12 church bell towers in North East Derbyshire and a campanile at a house in Stonebroom to participate in bell ringing. It was a fantastic experience. Many of our towns and villages have stunning churches that are immersed in history. They are all worth a visit. We are grateful to those who have come to our events or helped in any other way, whether it's wing walking, extreme walks, or running for sponsorship. The majority of parish councils have supported our fundraising, and their generosity is much appreciated. I wish to thank those members of the Appeal Committee who have made a difference on a voluntary basis, particularly Councillor Jane Barry, Graham and Paula Wayhill, Paul Truscott and Lorraine Shaw. Lorraine, with Neil Clark and other Ricknold colleagues such as Joanne Bell, have been amazing. They have all given their time freely. Thank you. We are fortunate to have had assistance from Joe Hayden, Tina Bamford, and the council's caretakers. We have enjoyed getting to know Paddy and his guided tours of places. Paddy will know what I mean. He, along with Paul and Kevin, are an asset to this council. We are also grateful to Rachel Pope and her team, who have done a lot to help the appeal. Fundraising in the current economic climate has been challenging. However, we have not been deterred from highlighting the work of Ashgate Hospice and raising money for this very worthy charity. I particularly want to thank Rachel Broughton and Lynn Jones, excellent ambassadors for the hospice. We visited this morning to present a cheque for an amount of £55,000. With our previous amount, Jean and I are proud to have given a total of £135,000 to Ashgate for their work with cancer patients. I am appreciative of the support from family and friends, but most of all from Jean, my consort. She has carried out the role with grace and dignity. Jean takes a genuine interest in everyone she meets and has been truly wonderful. She is the person I admire most, and I'm grateful that she has been with me every step of the way over the last 12 months. Thank you, colleagues, for allowing us to be chairman and consort of North East Derbyshire District Council. We have enjoyed fulfilling our civic duties, but hope we have been worthy in your eyes. Thank you.
I'll just switch my mic. I know I'm stood up, but you can still hear me. Martin, it's genuine this, mate. I really, really appreciate what you've done. It's been a fantastic year. I've been to 3 or 4 of your events and I've really enjoyed them, plus the football matches, which thank you for that. But you've been an excellent ambassador, like people have said, for this council, and that amount of money is phenomenal. So really well done on that. And also, like people have said, I think you've been an excellent chair, really fair and unbiased, and you've obviously, like Alex has said, we can't be easy at times to manage these meetings, but you've done an excellent job, and I think it's my job to present you with your, I think it's a badge and a book.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Grandad and son now. We have.
No other members wish to speak? We start move on. Chair, I'd like to thank you, the colleagues, and formally record our thanks to Councillor Thacker for this year as chair. I'm going to say, can we give him another clap again, because I think he deserves one. Right, Martin, I think it's time to move across the territory.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You want me to do it now?
If you will, yeah. Enough's enough.
Not time yet.
Yes, Chair, we've received apologies from Councillor Barry, Councillor Cornwell and Councillor Windley.
Are there any other apologies?
Yes, Chair. I've had apologies from Councillor Barry, Baxter, Beach, Cornwell and Fletcher.
Thank you, Chair. On our side, Councillors Cupit, Emmons, Elliott and Rennick.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. The fifth item on our agenda is declarations of interest. Members are requested to declare the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest and or other interest not already on the register of interests in any item on the agenda and withdraw from the meeting at the appropriate time. Do any members have any interest to declare? No? Okay, moving on. Item 6, minutes of the last meeting. We now have the minutes of our meeting held on Monday, 4th of March 23. Can we approve them as a true record? I'm going to move them.
How can I move those to a record? Second them, Chair.
Okay.
Members content with that?
Pardon?
All those in favour?
All those in favour? Is the correct record? All those against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Item section, election of the Vice Chair of the Council. Thanks, colleagues. Having just elected me as Mayor, it is now time for me to appoint the Vice Chair for the year. Do we have any nominations?
Can I move Councillor Christine Smith, please?
And I second that, Chair.
Seconded. We've had a motion that has been moved and seconded. Can we agree this?
Show of hands.
By show of hands. Okay, the motion has been carried. Congratulations, Christine. Could you come up now to the top table, please?
Thanks. I will just speak, Chair, because I can use this machine. I'm not sure about up there. Say it is an honour to be nominated to the Vice Chair. I have been the Vice Chair for this District Council in the past, in 2018. So it's been a long time coming, but in 2025, next year, I would hope to do an excellent job following yourself, Councillor Thacker, and then yourself. Thanks very much for the nomination.
Thank you. We'll give you a clap.
Something to wear.
Item 8, composition of the Cabinet. Our next item, composition of the Cabinet, the leader's appointment, so he might want to say a few words about them. Nigel.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just confirm that the Deputy Leader in the Cabinet will be staying same as last year, and obviously I'd like to thank them, all them people, for the work they've done during what's been a very busy year, and hopefully we can continue with that going forward. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that again. I think the Council should note the information. Item 9, propriety of the Council and appointments to committees. Our next appointment to the Council's committees for the year, the nominations for the majority group have been included as part of the agenda, and those from other groups will now be taken.
Chair, you have the Conservative Party's nominations, they've been shared. Yeah, everybody's got those.
We've all got these, I believe, you've just been told.
Conservative Party's put them as
Got it?
the Lib Dems and the Independent.
Hold on, sweet.
I don't know, they nominate to the committees.
All right. Lib, Councillor, do you want to nominate anyone?
Yeah, we'd just like to make an amendment to one of ours, Chair.
Yeah.
Business scrutiny, it will be Councillor Windley instead of myself.
Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
All right, thank you. You want to make any changes, Councillor Dale? No.
Councillor Weatherall.
Councillor.
Does Councillor Weatherall want to make any changes?
Councillor Weatherall, do you want to make any changes?
No, we're keeping as is, if that's okay, Chair.
Okay.
Sorry, we're on a minute. Can I just add a couple of names, please, to the planning committee as substitutes, please? Councillor Mick Smith and Councillor Cathy Clegg, just as substitutes, and I'm sure others might want to do the training as well, as in case things move. The more people that's done the planning training, the better. Thank you.
Sorry. Appointments. Item 10, appointments of chairs and vice chairs of committees. Our next item is the appointment of chairs and vice chairs of the various committees for the year. I would like Councillor Barker to explain this to us.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we've got our names printed as that list, so I'll move the names as printed from our group, and I think there's some alterations in this new one. Thank you.
Take the vote again, all in favour? Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. Thank you. Can I just thank Councillors Liggett and Clough for their services as vice chairs. Our group has decided to try and rotate the roles around the group to give as many people sort of access to the opportunity. So we're proposing Neil Baker for services scrutiny and Councillor William Jones for business scrutiny. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. Do we need a vote again on this one now? You want one? All in favour? Those against? You want to come in?
Yeah, just on the point of the committee chairs and vice chairs, just to put it on record that again the Labour group have excluded the Lib Dems out of any allocations for vice chairs. Yeah, giving everybody else as groups and even those without groups a vice chair position. So all this talk of collaborative working and wanting to work across party lines is more nonsense.
Well, I think I said what I said last year, and I'll stick by it. Thank you.
Make use of this. Item 11, schedule of meetings for 24-25 municipal year. This is a report of the monitoring officer, so anything you want to say, Sarah, before we are asked to approve it?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say that the meeting schedule has been through a number of consultation processes. The schedule before you is for the whole year based on that consultation, and we've tried to take into account time for work between meetings and try to avoid all clashes. Thank you, Chair.
Are we happy? Are we happy to approve the schedule?
And I'll move those, Chair.
I'll take them, Chair.
All in favour? Thank you. Item 12, appointments of outside bodies. The next item is to appoint the outside bodies. The proposed appointments have been added to the agenda. Would the leader of the council like to say anything about this? Nigel.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, again, all the names are mostly there. I have been told that all the nominations have got to be councillors on this council. So for the Stonebroom Community Association, can I move Derek Skinner, please? Councillor Derek Skinner. As to replace Janice Khan, who's not a councillor on this council.
We've got a seconder for that.
Second it, Chair.
Second it. All in favour? What is it, item 13? Item 13, review of the council's constitution. The next report is the constitution. You should all have a copy on your desk, and the electronic links to which were included in the report. This is a report of the monitoring officer, so I would like to, Sarah, briefly explain the changes that's been made. Sarah?
Thank you, Chair. As previous years, Standards Committee has undertaken a thorough review of the Constitution. In addition, officers have dealt with typos, housekeeping, technical changes in the Constitution. These are all reflected in the copy in front of you for approval. The substantive changes are contained on the table at page 65 onwards. And Chair of Standards will want to say a few words, but he and I will both be happy to answer questions after. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to place on record my thanks to Mrs Sternberg and her team for all the support they gave the committee in going through this. It's no quick measure. It took, I think, 5 or 6 meetings to actually go through it and reach the current recommendations. I'll briefly go through them. I suspect some may prompt some debate. Some are technical, and those, if there are any questions on those, I will hand those back to Mrs Sternberg. But the ones I want to mention in particular, as we go through the list that's been provided, first of all, with regards to extraordinary meetings, that hands the power to actually call the timing of those meetings to officers. It makes that quite clear, and therefore would stop for any majority group from playing about with that and timing it or delaying the calling of such a meeting. It also places a time limit on this meeting to bring it to within, has to conclude within 3 hours. And I think on only one occasion in the time I've been on this council have we gone beyond 3 hours, but it does give the opportunity to extend that to conclude business if he or she thinks it's appropriate. Then the next one is with regards to public questions, and this brings it into line with a number of other councils, and so that the principal purpose of this rule is to allow members and residents of North East Derbyshire to ask those questions. There's a whole variety of forms of wording. That's the one we've settled on. It's not perfect, I accept that, and there may be some issues and some comments about it, but it does work, and I think will be inclusive for this council, and in particular it allows people aged 16 and 17 to ask questions of the council. The next one is also dealing with questions from the public, and it's limiting the number of words in a question to 200, and that should be more than sufficient for anybody to formulate a meaningful question that can get us an answer from the person it's directed to. And it gives the chair the power to extend the 15 minutes that have been set aside for that, if that's felt appropriate as well. Then the next one allows the monitoring officer to rule out any motion that doesn't fit within the Constitution, that doesn't comply with the Constitution. I think that's implied within the rules, but this makes it absolutely clear, and that has 2 advantages, I think. It stops councillors making a fool of themselves by putting down motions that don't comply with the Constitution and have to be corrected in full council, but also it stops the council itself bouncing the executive into decisions that require the spending of money or changing of policy without it going through proper advice from the managing director, the director of finance and the director of governance. The next one is regards to the right to of the seconder to speak, and I certainly I have the view, and the committee agreed with me, that if you actually want this council to adopt a motion, so much so that you're prepared to second it, there is an obligation to explain that to the council as part of the debate. If you decide you don't want to do that, for example, I know Councillor Weatherall in the past has seconded motions from Councillor Adlington Stringer just to cause a debate. The chair would have a discretion to allow her to waive her right to speak and then be called later in the meeting if she felt if that was felt to be appropriate. Then the next one I think may be slightly controversial, but it's to do with the planning side of it. First of all, as part of the agenda, there will be a requirement for all members sitting on that planning committee to make it quite clear that there's been they've not been engaged in any predetermination. That goes unsaid anyway, but I think it would help in terms of making it quite clear to anybody who's watching that or has an application or is objecting to an application that members approach the planning committee without having previously made up their minds. And then the second aspect of it, which I suspect is slightly more controversial, and that's to say that if the application is within your ward and you're on the planning committee, you vacate the committee at that stage, and it's determined by people who are not from the ward. The next part, there are some changes to thresholds, and again, if there's any questions on that, I would defer to officers, but I think most of them are to take account of increases in inflation, and I think a number of councils are going through that. Then there is a proposal to give the monitoring officer the power to change membership of a committee where a group decides to change its membership. If something crops up, so for example, we've just agreed all the committee places today. If something were to happen tomorrow, then under the current rules, they couldn't be changed until the next full council meeting, which would be detrimental to that group. Since there is a formula for working this out and for implementing it, we're just saying that the monitoring officer can do that. So there's no hiatus, as it were, in the groups being represented. And then the next one, with regards to section 19, it gives the monitoring officer the power to grant dispensations in very limited circumstances. I think the law allows a number of, I think it's 5 or 6 in total. The 3 here are all mathematical calculations. If those thresholds are crossed in that way, it has to happen. And therefore, by giving the monitoring officer the power to deal with that, it allows the smooth working of the council to be transacted. Again, I think it's a standard term that's in a number of council constitutions. The rest in that list are ones brought forward by officers and relatively minor ones. And if there's any questions on those, again, I'll refer those to the officers who raised them.
All right, thank you, Councillor Gillett. A motion before us. Are we happy with that, or do we want any other members to speak on it? We need a second for it, sorry. We need a seconder for that motion. Been seconded. Mine's gone on.
Maybe he wants to
Lights are on,
Wait,
but no one's home.
I'll repeat.
Chair, apparently
Yeah,
there's been a power.
yeah, definitely. But, Chair, during Councillor Gillett's speech, when I and Councillor Welton were pressing the button, it was jumping straight to us. So I think there is an issue with this system, because it should have stayed on you and just put us in a queue, shouldn't it? I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll remember that for next time. Yeah.
That's what happens when you go cheap on a system.
Do you want to try it again? I can hear you all right.
I'm happy to keep going if everyone else is.
Alex Dale, then, please. It's been seconded anyway. So. Yeah.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to see me again, I'm sure. Thank you for the report, Councillor Gillett and Mr. Sternberg. I think broadly there are quite a few fairly practical decisions here that I don't really have a problem with. So I think I'd lump my issues, if you like, to sort of minor ones and more significant ones. In terms of the minor ones, the questions by the public, I think a lot of councils do limit it to these sort of people. The only thing that I thought about was, what about people who, for example, have carers or family members in the district who are maybe very, very old or whatever and aren't able to do that themselves. So maybe if consideration could be given to that scenario. But I think broadly that list seemed fine. The second is reserving the right to speech. I take the point around not justifying why you are seconding a motion, but I think it is fairly common convention for councillors to want to speak later in the debate. They want to get the debate going, but they want the opportunity to listen to the debate and to speak to it later. So I would prefer to see that left in rather than having that deleted. In terms of the more significant ones, I am concerned about the motions on notice change. I know it was discussed at the last review of the council's constitution, but my concern is that policy covers so much stuff, and are we limiting almost all motions by doing this? Would be my key concern on that one. In terms of the predetermination rules, I just feel like the ward excluding ward members from any decision in relation to an application in their ward is just not necessary. I know it was considered by, I think, our administration a few years ago, and we ruled it out. I think it's to be honest, I think it's treating elected members as children. It's almost saying that we're not capable of making a decision ourselves as to whether we're predetermined or not. The Localism Act itself is very clear on predetermination. I think just reading from the guidance notes, it says that decisions made by councils later judged to have been determined views makes it. Hang on, my printer's not come out very good on this. Essentially, the guidance makes it very clear that having a view on a topic, on an application, even highlighting concerns, would not necessarily be as much to predetermine you, providing you walk into the room with an open mind. So even in the event, I've read the actual word in the Constitution, but even in the event that you called in the application, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have indicated a particular view. I've called in applications where I've remained fairly neutral because I see it from both ways and I want the committee to have that perspective. So I do think that we're overstepping the mark here, and it's a bit of a sledgehammer to crack a nut, to be honest. So I think we ought to trust in members to make their own view on whether they're predetermined or not. And then finally, in terms of the dispensations where there are so many members that have a conflict of interest, I mean, the obvious one around this is Ricknall members when we come to the rent setting process as part of the budget. And I think all I'd say is that we managed through very difficult, narrow votes, and we didn't feel the need to change this system. And I think changing it around political proportionality, I think it's a massive scope there for the monitoring officer to have to make that call, and could end us up landing in sort of situations where votes have been approved on the basis of a dispensation that might not really have been given. So I am concerned about that one. It doesn't seem the right thing to do from my perspective. So I think that those are my comments and concerns, and I think on the basis of those significant issues, I don't think our group can support the changes, I'm afraid.
Councillor Walton. No.
It looks like I'm on.
Councillor Foster then.
Yeah, if that's okay, Councillor Welton. Yeah, I'll speak. Yeah, I'd like to speak on section 16, which Councillor Dale's just touched on, which states, and as Councillor Gillett pointed out, it is controversial. Absolutely it is. Maybe not the second part, but the first part is excluding members from determination of planning applications where they're a ward member for the application site. I'm, as you could probably guess a lot here, I'm against this alteration. It effectively means that planning committee members ward has less representation and is discriminatory to the residents of that ward. And for me, it's another example of further restriction on the rights of residents. It goes straight on the back of only allowing so many speakers, which we've been through before, which for me there was no need to. When we look at the Localism Act of 2011, and I handwritten my notes, they're not on a printer. Section 25 clarifies predetermination in that it occurs when someone has a closed mind. And the LGA goes further to this and explains the Act clarifies that decision makers will not be taken to have had a closed mind when making the decision just because they had previously done anything that directly or indirectly indicated what view the decision maker took. It goes on to describe the difference between predetermined and predisposition, and the difference between having a closed mind and an open mind. That's something that's not spoken about and discussed at planning committee much at all. In fact, very often we're not talking about policy at all. I feel there's a lot of members on that committee which are very much predetermined when they turned up, and you can see that. It's all recorded and it's all on YouTube for anybody listening here or any other members that are interested. You can actually see that. So a good example of this predetermination is the last two applications at last Tuesday's planning committee. We had the car park and associated road at Clay Cross and a small housing development at Grassmore. There we have on record, I'm not going to name names because that's not what we do here, but we have members saying that they wanted to turn down the applications, but the rules didn't let them. Instead of following the local plan and the national planning framework policies and applying them objectively with an open mind to an application, which is quite simple and quite obvious to a lot of people, that the planning committee do not do that. Now, I've got real strong concerns about this, so much so that I asked for a recorded vote, which is an absolute first for me at Planning Committee. Now, the one that was of concern to many residents was the Clay Cross application, and it ended going through with cross-party support, but with only 4 votes. A huge application like that going through on 4 votes, 1 voted against, and the rest just abstained. And that's because it didn't fit what they wanted. And they actually said it, and it's recorded on YouTube. What they actually wanted wasn't supported by policy, rather than completely the other way around. So for me, the issue here is not this predetermination and this sledgehammer to crack a nut. It's actually the planning committee itself, and it must be of huge concern, not to the administration, I get that, but it must be huge concern to the officers. They must be looking at that and thinking, oh dear, what's happening here? It's on record. Because if any of these things end up at the planning inspectorate appeal, we're in a real state. And I made that speech at the planning committee. It wasn't supported that much, but I made that. So for me, this is not what's needed at all. What's needed, for me, if anything, is a reformation of that planning committee, is bringing in line with what they're actually supposed to be doing, looking objectively at any planning application, whether it's in their ward or not, looking at the policies. Sorry?
Coming to you 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. I'll be quick then. So this is not what's needed. So this part I'd ask to go back to standards to be looked at properly. The discussion between with the Localism Act, predisposition and predetermination. The last one I actually do support, which is the predetermination, introduce a requirement that committee members confirm that they have no predetermined issues at the start of the meeting. It should be throughout, at the beginning of every application, so people hear it. Absolutely. So I do support that one, but not the first. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Chair. Is that on? Hey, thanks, Chair. No, it's... I'll yield to Councillor Hancock, because he's the one on the screen.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. I think the technology is giving us a few hiccups today, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, there's elements of this that I think are fine. The extraordinary meeting bit, yeah. Questions by public, I would emphasise that does need amending so that we can include carers and supporters, because that isn't acceptable. People who can't necessarily speak themselves need to have a voice. I'm not really sure that questions need to be restricted to 200 words. Sometimes things can be quite complicated and people do have put explanatory notes in there. I think perhaps it would be more appropriate and a better use of council's time if we were to just put in there that we accept questions as read, rather than having people reading them out. And that, to me, will probably address the issue that I think that is trying to raise. Section 10, yeah, I mean, seconders should have the right to reserve to speak. Sometimes they come back on things that are raised. I don't see why there's even a need to consider changing that. Section 16, I don't think we've even considered the practicalities of that, because we've got several, it doesn't affect me, but we've got several people on planning who are all from the same ward. So potentially you get one in Dronfield or one in Clay Cross and you're going to lose several members of the committee all at the same point. Members have a right to speak on applications in their own ward and actually take a position of the Speaker's chair and not vote. And I think that actually, it works. There's no reason to change that. And I think we're trying to tinker with stuff and address problems that don't exist. Like Councillor Foster, if I'm honest, I'm quite ambivalent. We should be going in there without anything predetermined. We should be coming in here without having predetermined, but we all know it isn't. So yeah, I really don't care one way or the other whether we announce that we've not predetermined it, because I say we shouldn't be doing anyway. Yeah, and the last bit, there's a practicality, but yeah, I don't think. Again, have we ever had an issue, I think, is the key question. If we haven't, are we trying to alter something that doesn't need changing? So I personally can't support this as it stands. I think it needs to go back to committee and be brought back to this council.
Thank you. Councillor Shipman.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with everything that's been said by everybody so far. There's no way I'm supporting these changes, because it's... I lost count, to be fair, how many times Councillor Gillett said the word limited or preventing or stopping. Surely the administration should be working on opening the council up to members, its residents, and allowing it to work better instead of limiting people as much as it has done since it got into power in 2023. What Councillor Foster says is absolutely correct in terms of the planning committee stuff. In fact, surely every member turning up to that planning committee should be taking a decision without being predetermined anyway. The fact that you've got to handhold them through that and make them admit that they could just lie anyway, even if they are predetermined. They're just going to say, well, I'm not predetermined, and then carry on doing whatever they were doing, as like Councillor Foster says, where they've already had a discussion beforehand with their party colleagues on how they're going to vote. When I was on the planning committee, it was evident that that's what was going on before the planning committee. What can be done? Nothing. It's up to members to decide if they are predetermined and whether they're going to run that risk of voting along party lines instead of, like Councillor Foster says, voting with what the rules are. To be honest, I'm shocked that any member has been sat in that meeting and said that they would vote another way, except the rules don't allow them to. Surely that committee should be there taking decisions based on what the rules are, not on what the rules allow them to do. Like it's been touched on, limiting members of the public who can ask questions. What if there's people that own businesses in North East Derbyshire but live in Nottinghamshire? What if there's people that own property in North East Derbyshire but live in High Peak? Are we saying that they can't come here and have representation in these meetings? I find it absolutely shocking that Labour are going down this route of limiting yet more public participation in these council meetings. Like I say, I cannot support this, and I hope it goes back to standards. They have a serious think about what's trying to be achieved by these changes. And one change I noticed that's not been included is how to get planning applications back to planning committee. How many debates do we need to have in this council chamber where we've got controversial planning applications that have not had a correct decision, or it's not been as clear as the council would like, and there's no mechanism to get it back to planning committee?
30 seconds.
That's one practical change that this authority could have done, which would have saved itself a lot of hassle in future. So I won't be supporting this, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Chair. It's in relation to section 19 on the ability to not to ignore effectively either and dispense declarations of interest or other interests in decisions. You have these rules for a reason. They're there for a reason. They're there for precisely to manage the business properly. And picking up what Councillor Dale was said, it would draw the monitoring officer's decisions into perhaps being questioned. Why did they make that decision? Why did they not make that decision? I've no doubt about the current monitoring officer, but what happens in the future with future monitoring officers? Councillor Gillett said it's very, very limited, but it's going to be precisely that very, very serious issue where the number of council or cabinet members have an interest, maybe a pecuniary interest in a matter, that it should be bound. We should be bound by those rules. If not, what effectively we're creating are two sorts of members, aren't we? There's members who are bound by the rules, and there's members who can be given a dispensation not to be bound by the rules. Cabinet decisions, well, things can come to full council. Committee decisions can come to full council. This can be completely dealt with under the existing rules. So I'm against this, and I would like it to go back to the Standards Committee to think again about how it can be properly managed. However, and this is not ideal, rather than the monitoring officer, again, monitoring officers can change in authorities, they can come and go. I would suggest that perhaps this, if you absolutely want to go down this route, if the Labour group wants to push this through, we go down a route that it's perhaps the independent person makes that decision. And those decisions are given with reasons in writing to full council, and they are published upon the website and at the next council meeting. So we know exactly what is going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Weatherall.
Oh. Should I go first, or does Councillor Weatherall want to come in first? Okay, I'll come in then. I just wanted to respond to what Councillor Foster said. Last Tuesday on the planning committee, I spoke as a representative for my ward, Grassmoor, and what Councillor Foster said did not resemble what I was there for. So I'll leave it for other members of the council to speak on the Clay Cross one. I know that Councillor Morley spoke against that, but on the matter of Grasmoor, this was not a case. It was certainly not what I witnessed watching that after I had spoken, as the councillor speaking against it, as a matter of policy not supporting it. That I know that one councillor had said such a thing, but the primary point of the discussion at the time was on the matter of flooding, and that was supported in policy. That was SDC 11. I know Councillor Foster likes to quote policies, and this is SDC Section C, and that was the primary discussion, was including access. He is aware that there was a picture submitted of that area flooded, blocking access into that area that was discussed. So what he has said today seems to be not matching what was discussed last Tuesday. And so I would ask him to withdraw that section about Grasmoor, please.
It's easy.
Thank you.
Chair, I'll give a personal explanation on that point of order.
Can I come back on?
Point of personal explanation.
Okay, come back in, Duck.
If my button works.
I'll come out. Helen, if you press it, you'll come out.
Go on, Councillor Foster.
Press it and you'll come out. Yeah, I'm out of the queue. It's tomorrow.
Thank you for that, Chair. Thanks for letting me speak again, giving a personal explanation. I wasn't discussing the actual merits of that particular application. I do get your point with the flooding, and you did explain about policy, absolutely. What I was talking about is what was said straight after. And and we'll name it, it's all on record. It's there for people to actually look at. And anybody here can look at what actually went on. I would like to, this is the same as the last, it was said, this is the same as the last application. I'd like to be able to turn this down, refuse this, but the policy doesn't support it. Do you need names? It's on there, you can look at it yourself. Everyone here can look at it on YouTube. So no, I won't be withdrawing it at all. It's complete. You won't be able to speak over me because I've got the microphone on. No, so it's completely true, and I won't be withdrawing that comment. Everyone here should be looking at that on YouTube. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Wetherall, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Just wanted to make the point, Standards Committee is a multi-party committee, and we have looked at this properly. One of the things that we considered was the public face of the council, and coming into local government as a new council member, there is a particular perception about planning in the public's view. And I think anything that we can do to make it look like vested interests are not being pursued would be very, very helpful. So it was looked at properly. We did consider it. I do support it, and it's based on a fresh perspective as a new councillor on the public's perception of planning and planning decisions.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
If I pressed it, great, it's on, fantastic. Okay, thank you, Chair. Just wanted to really look at, I think it's section 10, about members of the public who are involved in sessions. I won't touch on anything else, I think that's been done to death. My only concern would be if there is a business interest that may be located outside of our district and may want to speak or raise on policies, whatever it might be that we're talking about, that actually have some interest, they've got no voice within that. I mean, a good example would be we have members of the Chesterfield Football Club here today. They technically do not fall within North East Derbyshire. But if they had something that we were making a policy within our area, they would have no standing to speak. So I think that this probably needs to be addressed as an interest perspective. Killamarsh is on the border of Sheffield, and we have interest there as well, businesses, etc., who may not pay tax in the area, but may have an interest that affects our residents or our workers or things like that. So policies that we affect may have standing with what we're doing and may be of interest to the council, but we need to make allowance for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stringer.
Thank you. I won't seek to rehash many of the convincing arguments that have already been made, but I just wanted to reiterate and echo those concerns about the changes to who can speak at public meetings. It's highly concerning. I think we've seen the changes made to who can vote in this country and how that happens, and voter ID, and I think that public participation in politics is already at a low, and we should be doing everything we can to increase that. I don't think that further restriction is ever helpful. So I won't be supportive of this as long as this remains in. I think it really does put more barriers to residents, and that's not what we should be doing. There are no members of the public normally at meetings prepared to speak to us. We should be trying to find ways to increase the engagement of our residents, not put up further barriers, make things further complicated for people. Thank you very much.
Chair, if there's nobody else, shall I exercise my right to reply to those comments?
Thanks for that, Mr. Singer. Sorry about that. I just want to clarify something. I'd just like to come back to Councillor Foster. I was at that planning, and had it been political, we would have won it. It's as simple as that. We had more people there, but they didn't vote, so it's not political. I'd like to point that out to you.
So, Chair, can I perhaps exercise my right to respond?
Councillor Gillett's got a right to reply.
Yes, Chair. I'll try and cover as much as I can. I'd actually take the Conservative comments more seriously if their members actually turned up to the committee, participated in the debate, helped improve the matters there, but not only do they not turn up themselves, but the group doesn't even send substitute members along. I'd also take it more seriously if some Conservative members didn't go to one council and vote for the precise wording of some of these measures, and then come to this council and tell us that they're the worst thing since sliced bread. As far as questions are concerned, I think some of the points, particularly with regards to carers, I think that's a fair point, and I will take that away. And perhaps when we do the next review, that might be something we come back on. And if there are any other issues that are thrown up by this, and Councillor Adlington Stringer spoke to me outside of this meeting with another issue, and I think that was a fair point as well, and we'll take that and look at it. With regards to dispensations, again, I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding about this. The provision with regards to dispensations is there. It's a legal provision. It's just how you exercise it. And again, for the efficient running of a council, most councils, including, for example, the county council, have adopted this very provision. And if the monitoring officer has any doubts about her exercise of that power, she has the power to say, I'm not prepared to do it, and we have to go to a full standards committee. So I don't think those issues are valid. I think they're just based on a misunderstanding of how the system works. With regards to the second reserving the right to speak, again, this doesn't stop that from happening. It puts it down to the discretion of the chair. It just requires, as I think should be the case, if you think something so passionately that you think this council should adopt it, then you should say that straight away to try and convince the rest of us why we should support it, not sit there until the end of the meeting and then attack people for what they've said without your input being put in as to why you think it's such a good idea. It doesn't stop policies being, motions being about policy being brought. It just requires people to do it in the right way, whether it's to this full council and in terms of the wording, or whether you take it through the actual other constitutional procedures that are contained within this document to deal with it through scrutiny committees. So it doesn't do any of the things that people have said. It just requires them to put in a bit of extra work and do it in the correct constitutional procedure. Ward members on planning committees, I know that's controversial. I always knew it was controversial, and there is no right or wrong answer to this. You just have to form a judgment of it. Councillor Foster said it's disadvantageous to those members of planning committee. I actually think it's the reverse. The current arrangements are disadvantageous to the 42 of us that aren't on planning. Because at the moment we don't sit on planning committee. We have to go as a member as a member using the other rights we have to address the committee and have our chance to address to convince the committee of our way, and therefore it creates an even playing field, a level playing field for everybody else. Turning to the Lib Dem comments, again I was expecting those, and so I sat and read a number of constitutions of Lib Dem councils. And I can tell you that some of these provisions are actually in Lib Dem councils, so they're not fundamentally flawed because they're Labour issues. Well, perhaps you'll have the courtesy to hear me out, Councillor Shipman, rather than heckle from the back. You know, I came across one Lib Dem council, for example, that didn't allow any questions, or it didn't appear to. I couldn't find them. Others that had tighter than ours, and in fairness, another one that was a bit more relaxed than ours. Again, there is no right or wrong answer, and as I said earlier, if this starts to cause major problems, we do an annual review, and I will be the first to come back and want to change it if I found and felt it was disadvantaging people in North East Derbyshire from coming here and holding us to account. So, bearing all that in mind, Chair, I would hope Council would support the recommendation in the report.
Thank you. Yes.
We need three members.
Pardon?
We need 3 members for recorded vote.
We need 3 members for a recorded vote.
Recorded vote.
And technically, Chair, the recommendations haven't been seconded, so we can't even go to a vote.
So I think it was seconded by Councillor Kerry.
Yes.
By Councillor Kerry, I didn't hear that. Did you speak on it, Councillor Kerry? Just checking.
I thought that on seconding.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
So we're going to the vote.
Electronic vote.
Pardon?
Electronic vote.
The electronic vote. Are we all know what we're doing with that? Got your card in front of you? Green up for, isn't it?
Can you just check if everyone's voted?
Has everybody voted? Does anyone want to vote? For 22, against 18. Abstentions, nil.
That's carried.
Item 14. Scheme of delegation. For the year, could Sarah Steinberg run through the report? You will then have the opportunity to ask questions or speak on it. Sarah?
Thank you, Chair. This is before you as a constitutional requirement to consider the delegation scheme on its own. You've already considered it as part of the overall constitution at in the previous item, but the constitution does require you to explicitly approve this, so it's here to you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody to move and second the motion?
Can I move the recommendations in 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3, please?
Can I second that, Chair?
Yeah. Thanks for that. Does anyone wish to speak on it? No.
Vote.
They don't want to vote, do you? I didn't think they wanted one. Do you want to vote on it?
Show of hands. Show of hands, Chair.
Yeah. Show of hands will do. Carried. Item 15, agency rules. This is the last of the procedural rules out on today's agenda. Basically, council is required to set the thresholds for key decisions at this meeting and the year, and some changes are proposed. Ask, are you coming in on this now?
Yep.
Sarah will come in on this now.
Thank you, Chair. As the Chair has said, we are required to consider this at your annual meeting each year and the financial level of key decisions, plus when the exceptional rules have been used for reports to Cabinet. On the key decision levels, these have been reviewed in previous years and kept the same. This year, the Section 151 officer has done a thorough review and is recommending increases as outlined in the report. And again, like some other aspects of today, she has done this in the light of the inflation levels in recent years. In relation to the rules of special urgency and general exception, both of these relate to where the item has not been dealt with in accordance with the notice requirements for the forward plan. So this is a report to Cabinet or for an officer under delegated powers, which is above key decision level. It is required to be put on the forward plan at least 28 days in advance of the decision being made. These rules allow for exceptions where it can be justified. However, I'm happy to say that the rules haven't been used in 23-24. I'm sure the Section 151 officer will be happy to answer any questions relating to the proposed changes and how she's come to recommend them, and I would be happy to answer any other questions. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions?
Can I just move the recommendations, Chair?
Can I second them, Chair?
Been moved and seconded. All in favour? Carried. Item 16, Chesterfield Football Club, return to the Football League. Hey, well done. Well, I think this is one that we've all been waiting for a few years. Chesterfield Football Club have not returned to the English Football League. They have returned in style, are National League champions. And just to prove it, we have the trophy in the room. I'm sure you've all seen it. We also have the Chief Executive, John Crute, of the club, and his colleague, Keith Jackson, just to give us a quick update of the club's success and also about the fantastic work which the Trust is doing in our communities.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for inviting us down to speak with you. You've probably noticed that, for those of you that know John Crute, that I am not John Crute, nor John speaking in the third person about himself. I'm Keith Jackson, the Deputy Chief Operating Officer of Chesterfield FC Community Trust and the Welfare Officer of Chesterfield Football Club. John sends his apologies, he's unwell today. Chesterfield Football Club have been 6 years now in the National League, and it's been a long time coming, getting out of that division. The promotion to the EFL will open a number of opportunities for the football club to enhance what we already do in the community. The Community Trust works in schools, works across the district, works across Dronfield, Eckington, Cutthorpe, Oldbrampton and a number of other wards in NEDDC. At the stadium, we do a lot of work for people recovering from addiction, people with mental health problems, people affected by cancer, people from the armed forces. We try to find those people that are hard to reach in the community and see if we can improve their lives. This last weekend, we've hosted the International Walking Football Federation World Championships. 16 different countries, 56 teams represented across different age groups and genders, all coming to Chesterfield to stay in the local area, to spend some money in the local area and celebrate and come together. It was fantastic to have a meal Friday evening with people from Australia, Sweden, Israel, and other parts of the world that then come to our town of Chesterfield and see what we have and see what we're all about. The football club and the power of football has been able to bring people together, and none more so down at the stadium for match days in the last season, where for the last game of the season we had over 10,000 people attending a game. We're very proud of that. We're very proud of bringing people together, but like with the trophy coming out to meetings like today, we're absolutely focused on making sure the football club is there for its community. The trophy won't be sat in a cabinet at the stadium collecting dust. It'll be going out and about to schools, to the hospital. Here, we're taking it to Ashgate Hospice and taking it so that people in the town can see that without the people, without the community, then the football club doesn't really matter. With the things that we do with local councils, we've had the support of this group for our Buddy Buddy Veterans group, which was welcomed, which is a monthly meeting for anybody that's served and their family members to join us at the stadium to come together. And that's really the ethos of all the projects that we do, is bringing those people together so that they can meet with like-minded people and use the power of sport, physical activity to hopefully improve people's mental health as well. I didn't want to take much more of your time this afternoon because I know it's quite a lengthy meeting, but thank you again. The trophy is here for you all to, if you do want some photos with it, you can lift it up. It is yours to have a bit of fun with, get some selfies. It's anything you need from us as a football club, we're here for you. So thank you very much for your time.
I'd like to bring Councillor Barker in.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Keith. And I have got a personal interest in then, as many of you know, I'm a season ticket holder, and I don't think I've missed many games this season. So it is very personal to me, this, and it has been hard work over the last 6 years. Some of the grounds we've been to have been horrendous. But never mind, we're getting there. And I'd like to personally, I know John's not here, but I know you at the Community Trust, I'd really like to thank John because without him and the Community Trust, we might not even have a club to support, because we went through a really bad stage, and I know there were a lot of work. I know Martin were involved, and I think others. So I really appreciate that. But from my perspective, we're trying to build on this relationship with the football club to get out in the community, like you say, use the power of football to get into schools and trying to get some of the disaffected kids to engage. We're going to take it into sports centres, aren't we, and try and, again, use that spirit. And the atmosphere in grounds has been tremendous. I think we've sold over 5,000 season tickets for next season, which for a small club like Chesterfield is fantastic. And again, I just stress that Chesterfield Football Club now is truly a community club. It's not just about Chesterfield, it's about all the surrounding neighbourhood as well. So we really want to build on that engagement and work with you on that. And again, thank you for coming today. And I'm sorry we had to sit through 2 hours of something else.
Councillor Thacker. Thank you, Chair. During the recent season, we have witnessed Chesterfield Football Club on the march. There have been increased football attendances at matches at the SNMH Stadium that even broke the record of 10,000 people at one game. There was a recent civic reception at Chesterfield Town Hall, where one politician wearing a Chesterfield scarf, blatantly brand new, said they were never in doubt about backing the club. But my recollection about their comments before was very different. And today we've got praise from North East Derbyshire District Council, the same council that refused assistance when the Community Trust needed help to secure the club's future. But I would say that the council has redeemed itself with support for the Buddy Buddy Veterans Group. I should say that no one can doubt Councillor Barker and Councillor Kerry's passion for Chesterfield Football Club. They are both stalwart fans, and I've seen them enough times down at the stadium. And there are others too in this chamber who are Spyrites through thick and thin. It is an achievement to be promoted back to the English Football League. It's only taken 6 years to do it. But it has been a team effort from the players and many others, including the manager Paul Cook and Danny Webber, along with backroom staff such as Jason the kit man. The true fans have supported the club through good times and bad. There are those who've been on the road to wet and windy evenings at Altrincham, freezing experiences on the Cop at Gateshead, blistering hot afternoons in Eastleigh, parking challenges at Solihull, and so on. But the new supporters are welcome on the fascinating journey of what it is to be a Spyrite. However, it is no exaggeration to say there wouldn't be a club without Chesterfield Football Club Community Trust. The Trust made the decision to save the club when there was a real danger of it being wound up. There were no others willing to take it on. It has been a team effort from everyone at the Community Trust. A band of 6 trustees became football directors and worked hard to turn things around. The watchwords of "Trust the Trust" have been realised as Chesterfield returns to the English Football League. Those who have backed the club, trusted and believed, stayed positive and resolutely behind the team have played their part in realising the dream of Chesterfield becoming National League champions. It has been a tough road back to the football promised land, but my praise is and will be particularly for the Community Trust, who made a tough decision to buy a club on behalf of supporters, a decision that has made a difference for the community of North Derbyshire. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thacker. Councillor Weatherall.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Congratulations to the Spyrites. And I've recently been reminded that we as councillors, local councillors, have responsibilities in terms of our corporate parenting. And I would just ask if the Community Trust is not already, if they could look at particularly supporting looked after children and previously looked after children in North East Derbyshire I'm very aware of the power of sport, and particularly football, to change young people's lives. And as their corporate parent, I think if you can focus a particular scheme or anything on that, I'd be very willing to help and support you in that. Thank you.
We already do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'm sure the trust will come back themselves, but I can affirm, Councillor Weatherall, that I've been and visited a number of times. They do some fantastic work with children and young people, and did some promotion of fostering as well, really positive promotion of fostering. So they absolutely do, and yeah, do a great job of it.
Anyone else? If not, I think we should give him another round of applause. And well done. We're moving on to item 17, urgent items. I'm pleased to say I have none. So now I declare the annual meeting closed. We will have a short break, but could you be back in the room in about 15 minutes for the next meeting?